So this is you've done a few live DVDs now. How do you go about deciding which show to film and what you want from a new one?
Well, I kind of it's more about what goes in the tour show. So what happens is I write the tour show, we perform the tour show, and then we decide hopefully to record that and be able to release that. So the decision on what material goes in is more about what goes in the tour show, I suppose, which ultimately then the record of that is the DVD, I guess.
Yeah. And I mean, how did you want this tour to move on from what you've done before?
Well, it's my tours are always, it's quite arrogant really, because they're always about me, so it's always just what I'm up to now is generally how it goes. So because some comics this year have done like best of shows, and they've taken their best of, and I can't do that because I would be talking about like a divorce from 10 years ago and how I haven't got a cat even though I've got two now, and because my shows are very chronological. So I guess what you're doing when you come to see me is you're getting an update on how my life is going at the moment. It's just like a really arrogant diary, that's all it is.
Okay, but an arrogant diary in bigger and bigger venues, so that must be fun.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I love the theatres that we play, and this tour, was bigger than the last one, which was nice, and it's nice to have that kind of progression, I suppose, and that more people are coming, and I love the theatres that we do. I'm not really an arena kind of comic because I don't move from the mic stand. I just leave the mic at the stand. I'm quite, for being somebody who stands up, that's all I do. I don't move around at all. So I think arenas aren't really for me. So I just love doing more and more theatres, and also I love doing my job. So why wouldn't I want to do it loads? So that's why I ended up being on tour for like a year, which is what happened this time.
Yeah. And I mean, in terms of the crowds, have you noticed it's been the same people coming back, and the way your crowds have changed? Are they getting older, younger?
It's quite a wide range of people that come to my shows generally. I was always surprised, and especially on my first tour, the house music that I put on while people are sort of getting in and getting their drinks and sitting down, I picked quite relatively young music, and then I looked in the audience and there were like women and men in their sort of 80s, so I put a bit of Cliff in there because I thought that balances out. Everybody loves a bit of Cliff, and I hadn't realised that my audiences can be anything from sort of 15 all the way up to sort of 80s and 90s, and often a multi-generational thing. So people often come with their families and their parents and their grandparents, which is incredible. And I think it's quite surprising because kids are always surprised that their nanas aren't horrified by the rude stuff that I do, and you're like, because your nana's done all of those things, that's why.
And you shot it down in Brighton, which is always a fun place to play.
I love Brighton. It's always a great venue. I love a venue that has 3 different buildings, so that you work your way up. So you start in the Pavilion, and then you go to the Corn Exchange, and then you move to Brighton Dome. And we shot it in the Brighton Dome. And Brighton is always a great place to play anyway. And you try and pick somewhere. You could arguably record the show anyway, but it's always nice to pick somewhere that you already have a sort of a love for. And I've gigged in Brighton for so long. They have a really good comedy club there called the Comedia, so I've done gigs for there in Brighton for years, and it's also just a really nice place to hang out. So between shoots we could walk the dog on the beach and things like that. So yeah, it's quite selfish to go, I think we'll pick somewhere I like.
So once you wrap up promoting this, what's the plan for next year? Are you just having some time out?
I am going to have some time off because because I write about me, if I have to live a bit, because otherwise I'm just writing about staying in hotels and driving on motorways, and nobody needs to hear that because it's very tedious. I'm going to have a few months off where I can just live a bit and have a bit of a normal life, I suppose, and then just get writing. I've already written probably about half an hour of the next one because I don't like that kind of panic of sitting in front of a blank screen. I don't like that panic. So I've managed to have a different way of doing it where I just kind of low level write all the time, so I'm constantly scribbling and trying out new stuff. So I've already got about half an hour towards the next one. That's going pretty well. So I'll have a bit of time off, and then hopefully I'll get cracking and finish that. And I've got a couple of other little small projects that'll happen next year as well, but kind of taking it easy, not necessarily not working, but working a lot from home, which counterbalances the fact that when you're on the road, you're away from home a lot. So it's a bit like when people work 5 days a week and then have 2 days off, but I just do it in bigger chunks, I suppose.
Have you got much TV and radio planned in, or is that kind of all to be decided?
I've got a few bits coming up soon. So I've got, I'm doing a big fat quiz, and I've got another 8 out of 10 cats countdown, which is fun, even though I'm terrible at it. So we've got bits and bobs like that, but then not much in the early part of next year, just because I'm a bit of a workaholic, and I kind of need to go, I need somebody to go, we're not going to allow you to do any work, because otherwise I just constantly work. I like my job, but also you sometimes need a little bit of downtime.